Welcome to the Women's Fitness and Health Revolution podcast. There is so much noise on the interweb these days about what women should and shouldn't be doing when it comes to their fitness and health. Not only is it all too often tied to shame and fixing our bodies, it can also be incredibly detrimental to our health and wellness overall. The Women's Fitness and Health Revolution podcast sorts through the BS and offers advice and actionable tactile steps to support and build a better relationship to your amazing body through every stage of womanhood. It aims to break the cycle of keeping women in the dark about their extraordinary machines and revolutionize the way we move, eat, and live so that our daughters and our daughters' daughters look in the mirror and feel exactly what they are: fierce, beautiful, and capable of everything. The revolution starts here. Hello, and welcome to the Women's Fitness and Health Revolution podcast. Kinsey here, and I am just kicking it back to a good old-fashioned topic about moving our body, yaddies. And how the heck are we going to do that? So let's just say we're busy individuals doing the most out here in the world, and we're just trying to figure out how to get a little movement in our lives. There's about 8 bajillion things on the interweb saying totally different things. I may or may not have equipment at home. I don't really know how to put together a program. Maybe just the thought of even looking into it makes me tired. I've got YouTube, but even that, it's hit or miss. Basically, today's episode is the bare minimum of what I would love for you to do every week. Again, how you decide to do it is ultimately up to you, but I am talking the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 ways that I would love for you to move your body every single week. So this could be split up into 2 total body days, 60 minutes apiece. It could be a 30-minute front line. It could be a 30-minute back line. It could be 3 different days, maybe working upper, working lower, working total body. Again, the way that you put this into practice is up to you. And if you're like, wow, all these words that you just said don't make sense to me, in the show notes, I am going to be including a free beginner's guide to strength training for you. It's a guide that I made, I think 2 years ago now. It's super duper helpful for just talking about how to build your own workouts and why you are choosing different program selection. It also gives you, I think it's 4 to 6 pre-programmed workouts, for you to do. So you just get bonus workouts, but also so you can see how to put them together. So it's a great tool for creating your own workouts that you can do at home, you can do at the gym. Again, you know me, I am a huge advocate for, at some point in your life, working with a professional, because it is a skill and you want to make sure that you're moving well and not just moving, but I'd much rather get you getting the ball rolling than sitting around waiting because you're like, I just don't know what to do, because I get it. There is a lot of info everywhere. This is another one of those episodes too where I just we're going off the cuff, I think. Point is, no script. We're just flying with words. So let's see. Do I have any life updates? I feel like I do, and I just can't think of what they are. We've been in the business of planning our wedding, and I will tell you what, I feel very lucky that Mangarino definition is so stinking helpful with wedding planning. So I don't know how anyone does this on their own. They make it look easy. And you know what? It's fun, but it takes some time. So what did we lock in this week? Locked in a florist, locked in a makeup artist, because you know your girl can't do makeup. So yeah, it's starting to feel real. October 18th, here we come. Other than that, Argo, the new doggo, is settling in, just getting crazier by the day, and we love to see it. Potato chip tolerating. So yeah, pretty big stuff. Marcus just had a birthday on our last podcast. So that's March Madness. March Madness just started. We are not a big sports ball family, but my goodness, throw a bracket in and suddenly we're getting nuts in this household. So my bracket is already almost toast, and we are not even in the Sweet 16. Anywho, that's what I got. Those are my big updates so far. So let's dive into those. Like I said, 7 or 8. I haven't decided how many I'm going to tack on yet, but for sure 7 movements that I want you to incorporate into your life every single a week. And these are essential movement patterns, also commonly termed foundational movement patterns. Basically, we're thinking about supporting the way that human skeletons are naturally meant to move and operate through space. So we are supporting our amazing bodies in every way possible, whether it's lifting heavier in the future or literally just like not hurting ourselves when we pick something up off the floor. So our essential / foundational movement patterns, we should be doing them every week. So what are they? Like everything, when it comes to exercise, there are going to be various options and levels to each of these, right? Because as I mentioned moments ago, exercise, and I've mentioned pretty much every podcast since this podcast's inception, exercise is a skill. You don't just get to find a cheat code like Pokemon Red and suddenly be 100 levels ahead. You have to really start at your foundation, build it correctly, and then build from there. So first essential movement that we are doing every single week is a squat variation. Ooh, now here's the deal. All of these movements too, for the most part, are when I walk around the gym, I see people doing them incorrectly. So different ways to practice a squat variation. One of my favorite ways, if you're not working with a trainer, to start to work in. I actually just had a consultation with an amazing woman who I built a program for, and we're starting her because I'm not going to be working directly with her right now. We built in chair squats. So chair squats are just where we're literally practicing a squat pattern, tapping our tush on a chair. It could be a bench, it could be a box, it could be a couch. The point here is that we're basically training your hips to go back and then down. So we're working proper squat pattern. I have a whole other podcast that goes into detail on how to use good form without a trainer. I can go ahead and pop that in the show notes as well. But we need to be practicing that squat pattern. That's one of the most fundamental things. If you pee, or numero dos, you're squatting, right? So every day we're squatting. When we're getting up off the couch, when we're getting off of our chair, when we're getting out of the car, that's a single leg squat. So really, this is a pattern that we're using nonstop throughout our day. The more that we can bang this one out, the less we're going to hurt ourselves in our knees, our low back, our ankles. So again, these are foundational movements. Yes, ideally, we all get under barbells at one point in our life because we've built up to it, but foundational in the way that we operate in our world. So we must be squatting at least once a week early on and finding a squat variation that works for you. So chair squats, wall sits, maybe you can do, step ups are great build ups to squats, but finding a foundation where you are safe using something like a TRX where you can balance yourself a little better, or doing it next to a wall so you can assist yourself. But again, really proper form on those squats. Next is going to be that hinge. So probably commonly known as like a deadlift, but hinging at the hips. This is going to be, remember how I mentioned not hurting ourselves as we pick something up off the floor? I've spoken about this before. Deadlifts to me are pretty darn advanced. There is a lot of movement mechanics going on. We're supporting through the spine. We're bracing through the spine, shoulders down the back, making sure that we're not rounding at the shoulders, making sure we're not offloading the low back. There's a hinge in the hips. So it's, if I were to hold on to your hip bones, I would pull them back towards me, and that would be the movement that initiates the hinge, versus what what normally happens when people aren't trained in a hinge, which is the chest drops and we get that rounding through the spine. So hinge variations, practicing with a coach is super, I think that's like the gold standard. You can always film yourself and really look for that flat back. Again, check out that podcast on how to check your form without a trainer. But another great hinge variation that's a little bit more supportive, at least starting out, is going to be that glute bridge, right? So it's hinging in the opposite direction than we hinge when we are doing a deadlift. But again, you're working against gravity a little bit differently. You're really turning on through the tushy, which for a lot of us, our tushy is an underactive muscle. Think of it sitting all day in that lengthened position. A lot of times that tush is underactive, which is another reason that there is such so it's so common to have low back problems. So glute bridge is a great way to start practicing a hinge initially, but we should be incorporating a hinge every single day. Eventually, that can move up to a deadlift. You can move it up to a single deadlift. There's lots of ways to get creative with a hinge, a sprinter lunge. Basically here, squat, we're thinking of working the front line primarily. Hinge, we're working the back line primarily. Lunge. Lunges are super important because we're bipedal. We are moving one leg at a time. So we really want to make sure that we are firing correctly on each leg. So lunges, again, a little bit more advanced step-ups. Like I mentioned for squats, these are really great ways to build into lunges, whether it's on a box, a chair, on an actual step. You get your heel all the way on the box, you drive through the heel, you squeeze through the butt, come up all the way to standing so that you're firing through one leg at a time. This is a really good way too, if you take a little pause at the top, to notice how our balance is doing. Remember, we talk a lot about balance here as one of the most important things that we can work on because that's an indication that everything is firing correctly. If you're standing on one leg and you tip over, something in that kinetic chain is not firing correctly. So that's going to be the first thing you want to work on, is making sure that we can balance with a nice neutral pelvis, knee on top of ankle, below hip, shoulder on top of hip, ears on top of shoulder, belly button drawn in. Once we get those step up variations down, then we can really move into, I like to take it into a split squat next. Those are more stationary versions of lunges. So you're starting and you're keeping your feet in one position. I love group fitness. I think there's a million reasons that it is a wonderful thing. But one thing that I don't love about group fitness is that I think it makes it hard for people to feel comfortable or confident choosing options that support them. There are a lot of front lunges in group fitness, and for me, that is a pretty darn advanced lunge because it takes a lot of coordination. You sort of have to already know neuromuscular, whatever. Your brain and your body have to connect enough to know the width of your stance. So a reverse lunge, once you get your stationary lunge down, making sure you're not feeling it in your knee, making sure that your heel is pressing down in that front foot, the reverse lunge is the next progression because you're starting to work on really training your body to what the ideal distance for that lunge is. Because remember, we never, ever, ever want to feel exercises in our joints. Then I would say taking it up to a front lunge would be your final progression. I don't even really love to incorporate front lunges personally. I guess walking lunges I'll build into my own. But again, in group fitness, far too many times I've coached a program because the current gym that I'm at has programming for the gym that is truly wonderful, but there are front lunges in there. And I always say, if this is your first 6 months, choose the reverse lunge option or even a split lunge instead of this forward lunge, because this is a much harder, less stable. You're not trained neuromuscularly to hit that position. So take the option where you're at, and the majority of people just go right into that front lunge. And what I see is just completely improper form. I see a lot of shifting into the toe, lifting of the heel, and offloading into the knee joint. So we progress for a reason. And that to me is one of the most challenging parts of group fitness, because I totally get it. I get it. It's hard to be like, I know I should take this option, but there's a lot of, I think oftentimes like judgment, because people don't want to be like seen as taking an option that they don't feel like is as far along, even though taking that option is going to be the option that means that in a year, 2 years, 8 years, 40 years from now, they're moving beautifully. So if you're listening to this and you're in group fitness, listen to your body, progress. We're talking step ups, split squats, reverse lunge, then front lunge. That's my soapbox, stepping down. Because this isn't about that. This is about those essential movement patterns. So we've hit squats, we've hit hinges, we've got lunges. Now we're thinking push. And there's two types of push, right? There's going to be the push in front of our body, that horizontal push, and there's going to be the overhead push, things like shoulder presses. And we want those in each of our each week as well. So that vertical press with the shoulder press. I'm a real big fan of either like half kneeling shoulder presses where you're really forcing your core to engage and you're working through that pelvic floor strength, you're building stability. Also a seated shoulder press. One of the biggest things I see with shoulder presses is offloading in the low back and sort of popping our belly and chest out like a rooster. So sitting or that half kneel really forces us to engage through the core. In terms of horizontal presses, when we're going in front of our body, chest presses, big fan of chest press variations, whether it's elevated from the ground. Eventually working up to push-ups is great, but push-ups are a very advanced move. And even when people are able to do push-ups correctly, oftentimes they don't. It's one of the most incorrectly performed exercises I see at the gym. Whether it's shortening the range of motion, overextending, dropping through the pelvis, there's lots of ways a push-up can go wrong. Flip it on your back, take that work against gravity out, just isolate through the chest, boom, that's a beautiful push. So chest presses are my go-to for that. And then you can do variations from there, right? You can do alternating chest presses, you can do narrow, you can do, like I said, incline, throw in a chest fly, get crazy. So push horizontal with the chest and vertical with the shoulders. Next, you got pulls, and these are so critical. I talk all the time about the importance of taking care of our posture, especially as we age. My ladies out there, we are far more prone to osteoporosis than dudes, so we really need to make sure that we are supporting the muscles around our spine and also resistance training. So pulling, that's going to be exactly what it sounds like. It can be rows, it can be lat pull downs, it can be pull-ups. There's a million variations that are really great for this. Again, if you're sort of starting out and you're on your own, this woman that I gave the example of with the chair squat, one of my favorite initial rows to give people because it doesn't require a hinge, which is that hinge at the hips. A lot of times people go right into that bent over row. And if you don't have your hinge down, you're not going to do your bent over row correctly. So it's a seated row with a band where the band is around your feet and you are seated just like a seated overhead press. A, it really forces you to activate through your core. And B, it allows you to really stay in control of the shape of your spine because you're in that seated position. And that way you can really target the muscles of the back. You can also, starting out, I'm a big fan of having a TRX around your house. TRX rows are great. That's another good one for a vertical press, a TRX chest press. I would say if you're at home and in your first 1 to 6 to 12 months, some really nice pieces of equipment that are on the lower end of a budget would be bands, and then slightly mid but super functional and you'll get a lifetime use out of it would be TRX, and then eventually dumbbells are great to add on. They are more expensive, but eventually you just have to go up because you need that resistance, which is also why it's great to eventually think of moving from the house into a gym. Eventually we run out of weight. Okay, so that's a pull. Big thing with pulls too. Again, this is not a form episode, but remember, shoulders down the back. Notice if as you row, a lot of times we have a tendency, just because they are more underactive muscles, that the shoulders will sort of creep up into the ears. So shoulders down the back. Twisting and rotating and or anti-rotation. So really training our body, actually let's leave anti-rotation out. Training our body to rotate. That's something that we do it every day. Right? We do it every single day. And yet the majority of our day is sitting in a desk chair facing our computer, staying perfectly stationary. So we're missing a huge part of our movement. This could be as simple as stretching in the morning. I've got a lot of vids on my YouTube that just move your spine side to side. So it's a great warm up. It's a great cool down. It could move into a movement like wood choppers, or you could add a little bit more range of motion into your row where you're really getting that full stretch into the row. So reaching down so that rib cage is moving along with your row. Archer pulls on TRX, amazing. You can add a balance element. So single leg overhead chops where you're either body weight or you could hold a medicine ball. One leg is up and you're rotating over that leg. As your lunges get stronger, you can do reverse lunge with a rotation over that leg. There's a lot of really good ways to rotate. The goal here is to rotate well, engaging through your spine. And again, this is just think of it like a movement nutrient. This is become so extinct in our modern life that it truly is like taking a vitamin supplement. So this is a great way, even if you're not doing rotations in your like meat and potatoes of your workout. Like I said, add it into your warm up, add it into your cool down, add it into your day. Cat, cow, side, circles through the spine, just anything that gets your body rotating. Okay, let's see. I have squat, hinge, lunge, vertical push, horizontal push, pull, twist. Let's go plank. This one technically isn't a foundational movement because there's not a lot of ways that the human just sort of like rock and rolls a plank. And even a plank, I'm going to say, let's just say core. Oh, you hear the puppy? Core. And starting out, I actually don't even want you in a plank right away. I want you on your back and I want you doing a dead bug. I want your hands on your thighs and your thighs on your hands. And I want you pressing like crazy, really starting to train through that low core. This is going to be sort of what goes into that anti-rotation. So if we're twisting on one, this one is going to fight the twist. So I like things like dead bugs. So ignore plank. Plank eventually, amazing. But to start off with, dead bugs, Pavlov presses are delicious. Bird dogs, amazing. Basically anything where your hips are staying neutral and your body is fighting a rotation. So again, Pavlov press, great, whether you're half kneel, whether you're standing. Bird dog is a really good advanced one. Really make sure, or as you like move from dead bug to a bird dog, making sure that your belly button's pulling in and we're not dropping towards the floor. But again, just as important as that rotation is that anti-rotation. And then finally, the interwebs loves to call it gait. Let's just call it walking. Healthy walking. Walking is what we are meant to be doing with our skeletons. And there is more that goes into it than we really have time to hit on this episode. But when we are walking, we want to think of our feet straight ahead. We want to think of those contralateral movements. So opposite arm, opposite legs, squeezing through the glutes, driving into the cores, eyes on the horizon, nice shoulders down the back, moving with intention. That gait. Again, 8. I think I gave you 9 actually. Let's see. Every single week, I want you squatting. I want you hinging. I want you lunging. I want you vertically pressing, so that that shoulder press. I want you horizontally pressing, that chest press. I want you pulling. I want you rotating. I want you anti-rotating. And I want you walking. If you're like, wow, that is a lot of things, Kinsey. It sounds like it, but it turns out that you can actually do these into 30-minute workouts. Again, download that beginner's guide to strength training. I give you built-in examples of how to incorporate this, whether you're doing upper lower split, front back split, total body split. It'll give you tangible ways to see how this drops in. And again, the reason we're doing these is because they are the foundational movements, both for, like I said, ideally, we're all moving up in weight over time. And I mean that for everyone, right? We can all, no matter our age, no matter where we're starting at, we can all eventually progress to heavier and heavier loads. And that is our goal. We don't want to stay at body weight forever. I like to reincorporate body weight for sure as form checks, just reincorporating little movement snacks. But in terms of continuing to build and maintain muscle, we need to move it under more and more load. So this is going to keep us safe as we increase load. It is also going to keep us safe in every other thing we do. When we're carrying in our groceries and we're twisting to get our keys out of our pockets, and then we drop a can and we have to pick it up while balancing our groceries, and we have to grab our kid because it's running towards the street and our dog is jumping on us and we have to back up. All these different things that life does. Or just like me, you're getting out of bed and oh my gosh, my shoulder, right? Foundational movements for life every single week. Thinking of at least 2 strength training days, Breaking it down again, if you've got more time, but at least 2 30-minute strength training foundation or strength training foundation days every single week to start. Even if you're just doing 30 minutes, you are already building an incredibly strong foundation. Because as always, when we are starting to get into exercise, the goal is just normalizing taking time out to move our body, making it something that we don't even think about. It's a non-negotiable. It's a no-brainer. We're creating normalcy around moving. So one last time, the 9 movements you are doing every single week: squat, hinge, lunge, vertical push, shoulder press, horizontal push, chest press, pull, twist, anti-rotation, and walking. And just like that, even if you came in here confused, hopefully we have a little bit of a takeaway of what we're looking to do each and every week. And by the way, this was something I did not understand until I became a personal trainer and learned exercise science. It is okay, in fact, pretty darn necessary, to repeat your exercises. So again, this woman that I created movement or workouts for, I gave her 4 exercises. She's going to do 2 each week for the next 6 to 8 weeks. She's going to repeat these 4 exercises because our goal is to get both stronger, but also more skilled at these same movements. So it doesn't have to be fancy. Think 6 to 8 weeks of practice. If you have any questions, you know the deal. Hit me up. Email me, kinsey.dement@gmail.com, or find me on the gram, kinsey.does.the.fitness, and I got you. In the meantime, download that free beginner's guide to strength training and have the most beautiful day. It is such a delight to know you are out there looking to move your bodies. Hopefully, this one made sense. You know, I'm always a little nervous when I go off script because my brain likes to go on tangents. But in the meantime, take care of yourselves. You and your bodies are so stinking worth it. Until next time, aroo.